from the ancient Greek, without rulers. That simple. To me, anarchism, synonymous with libertarianism, synonymous with abolitionism. It's the exact same thing. All an abolitionist said was that these people shouldn't be ruled. They shouldn't be slaves. There shouldn't be the slave master relationship. And to me, that's what an anarchist is. You want to abolish one central thing, and that's slavery. And sometimes people ask, well, what does the libertarian say about this or about this? And our answer is always essentially nothing. We say that you shouldn't initiate violence against peaceful people. That's all we say. And that has a lot of implications, a lot of very important implications. But it's like asking an abolitionist, well, what do you say about what jobs the slaves should get after they're freed? Who cares? We should abolish slavery.
The top of the show, Michael, that I'm not an anarchist, but I really enjoy talking to you and to Dave Smith, because both of you were coming out of that mindset, and there have been these models posited to me where I'm like, that really made me think of things differently. It was either you or Dave, I don't remember which, but kind of brought up that if the government's just a big corporation, would you let it do what it's currently doing? Sure. In theory, if we got to vote for whoever was the head of Microsoft, we all got to vote for the president of Microsoft, but Microsoft was then put in charge of the military and police and schools and all that. Would you be all right with it? It's like, no, of course not. I wouldn't be okay with that at all. And well, for some reason, we have this sort of sanctifying, almost holdover idea from the Middle Ages. We've sort of transmuted divine right rule into democracy, whereas if democracy works, then a corporate body is now fine. It's been sanctified. It's different than a corporation at that point. And I do enjoy talking to you guys because it gives me this very different perspective on how I look at power.
Okay, go on.
My worldview, anarchism, is based on the idea that everyone is a self-owner, and that the guiding principle for social relations is what we call the non-aggression principle, meaning you are not in a position to aggress against another person through force or fraud. And if someone does initiate force against you, then you have the right to retaliate. And this very simple principle is the basis of all interpersonal relationships.
You can't even say we should do something?
Well, anarchism, there's one R that they throw in there, right? So anarchism means without rulers. There's no centralized coercive authority. And one of the reasons why anarchism is so appealing is not only is it intellectually consistent, but also when you have a centralized pyramid of power in society, you have no rules. They change all the time. Just look at what happened with spying on the Trump administration and the lying about it and these allegations. The FBI is changing records and can't find, there's no rules. Look at the Clintons. So when you get this, you don't get rules. You just get chaos and bribery and panic and manipulation and lies. And so that's no rules. So anarchism simply says without rulers, no rulers. But everyone takes that last R out and says, oh, that means no rules. And it's like, no, we want rules. Right now, we have no rules. In a free society, the rules are negotiated, they're consistent, they're the minimum necessary, they're constantly being whittled away as new technology arises and so on. And so this idea that anarchism means without rules, anarchism is the only way we ever get consistent, objective, and rational rules in society. You're never going to get it through the state. It's too subject to the power principle.
Mark, what is anarchism?
Anarchism simply is the state by which there are no rulers over other people. There are no masters and there are no slaves. The word anarchism is actually derived from two Greek words. The prefix a or an in Greek simply means without or the absence of. And the noun archos, archon in Greek means ruler or master in the actual connotative sense of being an owner of other people, like a slave owner, a king who rules over its subjects, a master in that sense, not someone who has come to a very level of advanced knowledge and is therefore called a master of some skill set or something like that. The connotation of the word archos or archon in Greek means a master over a slave or a king who is above his subjects. So if you put those two root words together, an and archon, where we get anarchy from, it simply means the absence of rulers or masters, and therefore that means that there are no masters and no slaves, and that is called the state of freedom.
Larkin, what is anarchism?
Well, he just gave a perfect definition of anarchy. Anarchism is the advocacy of that. To me, it's even sort of silly and funny that there need to be such words. Like, there is not a word that means someone who doesn't believe in Santa Claus. There is not a word that means someone who doesn't advocate killing and eating his neighbors. Like, government and authoritarianism and statism is insane and immoral, but because it's so rampant, there needs to be a term that means I'm one of the people who doesn't want somebody to violently dominate you. I think the day will come, and I don't even think it's all that far in the future, when nobody will use the word because it will literally describe everybody, because everyone will have outgrown this superstition. But for now, being an anarchist literally just means I don't want a ruler for me and I don't want a ruler for you. I want you to be actually free. And to me, that's just sort of the step one of being a decent human being. I don't even see it as some, outlandish philosophy. It's just like how to be civilized 101.
Direction. All government is immoral because it is the idea that certain people have the right to issue commands to other people, and that those other people have some sort of a moral obligation to follow the commands of this dictatorial ruling class.
.com. And Roderick, I don't want to accuse you of anything, but it's rumored that you're an anarchist. I mean, is that actually correct?
Yes, there is some truth to the rumor.
What does that mean?
Well, the anarchist in this context is someone who wants to abolish the state, where the state is understood not as law and order. As an anarchist, I have no objection to law and order. I'd like to see more of it. But as the state is a territorial monopolist of law and order. Just as a shoe monopolist could be someone who says, no one is allowed to make shoes except me, and I will decide what shoes you get and how much you pay for it. So a government is an institution that says, no one's allowed to produce any law and order except me in this area, and I will decide what kind of laws you get, what kind of order you get, and how much you pay for it. And if you don't like it, well, every 4 or 6 years you can, petition for some change in the personnel of my company.
Anarchist, but it's not what you think.
Right.
If you've never heard the term before,
Right.
it's not the stupid,
Right.
let's go blow up the White House or some kind of thing, which only strengthens the government. So you have to be a complete idiot to follow that, apart from being immoral and evil. There are
Right.
people who think, the so-called left-wing anarchists think that the government is the protector of private property, so we have to go after it. But obviously the government lives off predation on private property.
Exactly.
That's how it survives. So it's not the protector, it's the enemy.
Quotes on Anarchy by Murray N. Rothbard. Anarchism is a simple matter of libertarian logic. Once concede the power of the people to consent, as well as the natural law of equal freedom from subjugation, and the logical consequence must be anarchism. Once admit any right of secession whatever, and there is no logical stopping point short of the right of individual secession, which logically entails anarchism, since then individuals may secede and patronize their own defense agencies, and the state has crumbled. Law and the state are both conceptually and historically separable. And law would develop in an anarchistic society without any form of state. Liberty is a profoundly revolutionary concept, and it can only be achieved through the liquidation of the oppressor state. We must hold as our foremost objective the abolition of the state. The aim of free market anarchists is precisely to end governmental omnipotence and planning, and to substitute for this each man's planning for himself. As long as the state exists and has its being, none of us can be totally free. Libertarians want the end of politics. They wish to abolish politics forever, so that each individual may live his life unmolested and as he sees fit. Anarcho-capitalism is an easily explainable system. I am a dedicated anarchist. I am indeed opposed to the state and therefore to politics. If the state and politics disappeared tomorrow, no one would be happier than myself. I define anarchist society as one where there is no legal possibility for coercive aggression against the person or property of any individual. Anarchists oppose the state because it has its very being in such aggression, namely the expropriation of private property through taxation, the coercive exclusion of other providers of defense service from its territory, and all of the other depredations and coercions that are built upon these twin foci of invasions of individual rights. Only the state can confiscate my property or put me in jail if I do not pay its tax tribute. Therefore, only the state regularly exists and has its very being by means of coercive depredations on private property. Anarchists are interested in the abolition of this type of action, e.g., aggressive physical violence against person and property. What anarchism proposes to do, then, is to abolish the state, i.e., to abolish the regularized institution of aggressive coercion. The hallmark of an anarchist society is one where no man may legally compel someone who is not a convicted criminal to do anything, since that would be aggression against an innocent man's person or property. Under anarchism, there can be no coercion of the non-criminal. Our ultimate objective is to privatize all of society, to turn all governmental operations over to private enterprise. The state should be abolished and all functions privatized. A truly free market is totally incompatible with the existence of a state, an institution that presumes to defend person and property by itself subsisting on the unilateral coercion against private property known as taxation. There is no accepted meaning to the word anarchism itself. The average person may think he knows what it means, especially that it is bad, but actually, he does not. One very popular charge against anarchism is that it means chaos. Anarchists have regularly believed that the establishment of their system would eliminate the chaotic elements now troubling the world. The root of the word comes from the term anarchos, meaning opposition to authority or commands. Brief comment here. Government is the number one cause of chaos. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Yemen today, Mao, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot. Government's the number one cause of chaos. They make arbitrary rules, enforce them on voluntary actions that otherwise would be peaceful. They cage people for victimless crimes, engage in mass murder, and totally get away with it. Government's number one cause of chaos, not anarchism. We must conclude that the question, are libertarians anarchists, simply cannot be answered on etymological grounds. Thank you for watching Keith and I Don't Tread on Anyone.